All right. Well, here we are. I hope the stream is working. If anyone wants to leave a comment and let me know if they can hear everything and all of that, please do. But hey, the channel has hit another milestone, 90,000 subscribers. And when we hit various milestones, I like to try to do these live Q&As as an opportunity to interact with you all and reflect a little bit on the channel. So, I mean, 90,000 is huge. It's really close to the kind of big milestone of 100,000. And I've got some fun things planned, I think, for when that happens. One of the things that we'll be doing is doing a big library tour, bookshelf tour, so you guys can kind of see what I'm interested in, what I'm reading. I can give book recommendations. I don't know. I think books are fun. Maybe you think books are fun as well. Glad to hear that the stream is working, by the way. Thank you for that. I wanted to also just reflect on kind of the moment that I'm in with this channel right now. Some of you might have heard in my most recent video, but I shared that I'm now doing this full time, which was happened on a faster timeline than I expected. I'll tell a bit of that story here now, just because it seems an appropriate time to reflect on this. So for a long time, I've thought, doing YouTube full time, what a dream that would be, right? I mean, researching, writing, making videos, editing, I love all of this. It's an absolute pleasure. And so that's always been a long-term goal. But then this year, I was working for the Department of Defense in the U.S. government. And you might know that it's been a kind of crazy year for government employees, a little thing called Doge and all of that. Things were looking crazy. I was on a type of position where it was initially a term position where you'd be there for 2 years, and under any other circumstances, you would be able to renew that quite easily. However, with Doge, they were kind of looking at that differently. They wanted to downsize the government, and so they were offering people incentives to leave the government. You might have heard about these kind of buyout types of things. After prayer and consideration with my wife, we decided, hey, now's no better time than to try to make this leap than now. So currently I'm doing this full time. And so the people who are supporting on Patreon are not just helping us, have some money to go do a vacation or something, but they're helping pay the bills. And so to everyone who supports this channel, thank you so much. It means the world to me. I'm going to do everything I can to make this work. And that'll probably involve picking up other work and whatnot. But the people who give on Patreon are making this happen. And they're not only supporting me, but they're helping this channel reach more people. The goal of the channel is to help people encounter beauty, truth, and goodness in the Christian tradition. And I think we're achieving that. I'm hearing stories all the time of people who are coming across this channel and it's helping them find peace amidst ecclesial anxiety. It's helping them kind of rekindle their love for the faith. It's helping them explore the faith in new ways and take the next steps on their journey. And so that's what you're helping do when you support the channel. So I don't want to make this whole video about that, but just wanted to say, yeah, that is what's kind of going on in the channel right now. Also, I got a haircut, which might sound completely random, but in a recent video, someone was like, I can't take you seriously when you wear a hat. And I said, leave a super chat for $20 and I'll go get a haircut. And a bunch of people have super chats, which was so kind. So I got a haircut today. Here we are. I also shaved. My wife told me I looked like I was 12, which she insists was meant to be a compliment. I don't know. Anyway, the beard will be back soon enough. Okay, so we'll be getting to some of the live stream questions here in just a second. I've got them kind of pulled up on my screen so I can look at them over here. And in the meantime, while people kind of have a second to put in their questions, I'm going to answer a couple things that have come up. Recently, I've been making some videos in line with the church calendar. And one of the really funny things to me about that is I keep getting these comments like, whoa, you don't sound Protestant anymore, which is this interesting dynamic where the more Protestant you become by engaging historic Protestant sources, for some reason, people think you're actually less Protestant. Something I want to try to do more on this channel is to expose people to the riches of Protestantism that they can find in there. And one of the places I found that is in the Book of Common Prayer. So a lot of people have been asking me, which Book of Common Prayer do you use? Because I've been reading from these collects and from various things on feast days. Well, the Book of Common Prayer that my wife and I use every morning, we do morning and evening prayer, not the full version, the devotions for family, which is why I bought this edition. So this is the 1979. It's what's used in the Episcopal Church today. It's used in the church that we attend. This is the fancy kind of little leather edition. And yeah, what I really like about this, though, is that it does have not only morning and evening prayer, the traditional Rite 1, as well as the more modern Rite 2, but it has these wonderful family devotions, or for individuals, where you can do it in, I don't know, like under 10 minutes. My wife goes to work at 6 a.m., so we're doing this at like 5:30 in the morning, and you get a psalm, a gospel reading, pray the Lord's Prayer together, and then a collect for the day. It's kind of perfect. I was talking to an Episcopal priest recently, and he said it's like learning to bench the bar, which I think is just a wonderful analogy for what that is. So that's the one I use. But if you're like all worried that the version the Episcopal Church uses is going to make you liberal somehow, by the way, there's no liberal theology in the 1979 Book of Common Prayer by any like reasonable standard, I think. Maybe we could debate like certain prayers. Anyway, it's not going to turn you into like some crazy progressive, I promise. But if you want something a little more old school, the IVP International 1662 Book of Common Prayer is an absolute treat. It's just slightly updated language from the original 1662, specifically for people who aren't I had someone on the other day. Anyway, people who aren't British, right? So it's kind of replacing some of the prayers for the king, give you different language. But this edition is absolutely beautiful. You've got kind of like the red text on the top. And yeah, they did an absolutely wonderful job with this. I love the hardcover, no dust jacket. So if you're looking for something, this one's really good. It does have the like homily on justification and some of the kind of historic documents in it. So I'd recommend it, but it doesn't have the devotions for families, and that's an L for this one. Okay, we're going to get into the questions, but before we do that, I wanted to give 2 more book recommendations on the kind of idea of historic Protestantism. One, both this book and this series, it's the Mercersburg, Mercersburg Theology Study Series. This is Philip Schaff on the development of the church. Schaff is like the Protestant Newman. I'm actually going to make a video along those lines soon. Absolutely pick this up. Schaff is the general editor for, I can never point on a video. Why can't I do that? That series, the Ante-Nicene Fathers, Nicene Fathers, and Post-Nicene Fathers. But this is a Protestant kind of second level theory of how church history works. Really good stuff. Absolutely recommend it. And then on a general kind of primer on the Reformation, just went through this. Matthew Barrett's The Reformation as Renewal. He's the guy who you might have heard made some waves. He just left the Baptist seminary he was teaching at to become Anglican. But it's a tremendous kind of intellectual history of the Reformation. Thick book, but well worth it. Okay. I wanted to do that to give people time for questions. I see Redeemed Zoomer is a fan of that. Submit to Rome, submit to Mercersburg, PA. So he's going off in the comments. Yes, there's John Williamson Nevin has a couple books in this series, and you should check them out. His book on the presence of Christ in the Eucharist is absolutely phenomenal. I think that's within one of the Mercersburg study series, but you can also get that separately. Well worth reading. Okay, now I'm going to scroll back up to the top to see questions. Okay. Chess player. This is someone who I always see when I do live streams. I don't see their username when I do other things, but hey, good to see you. I need to get back into playing chess. What do you think about studying Christian theology at a non-Christian institution? I think it depends on what your goal is. So on the one hand, I think that theology is for the church. It should be done kind of in a devotional manner, and so far as I don't think we want to separate the life of the mind from our spiritual lives, but I don't think that being at an institution that separates that means that you can't unite those things back together. So I would say, generally I want theology to be done in and for the life of the church, but you can do that by studying at a non-Christian university. And I do think that there's some incredible non-Christian universities that have good theological programs. I guess I would also say it depends on what you're interested in. So if you're interested in like pastoral ministry, probably not the way I'd go about it. But if you're interested in like the really necessary, sometimes like nitty gritty type of sub-disciplines of theology, like, oh, that got a -1. Oh, well. If you're interested in like text criticism, if you're interested in like archaeology, if you're kind of like what I'd call like harder sciences of theology, yeah, doing that at a non-Christian school could be really great. You'd probably come across some better funded programs, and that's just a reality. If you want to do a master's, a PhD, like somewhere that has funding is huge, and something that can not only fund your experience but fund good research and go out and do archaeological digs and stuff like that. So I guess it just depends on what area of theology you're interested in, what your end goal is, as to whether or not I would recommend that. All right. Okay. Super chat from Redeemed Zoomer. Thank you for the super chat. Love your videos, man. Could you do a video about the beauty of mainline Protestantism? Yes, I certainly can. In fact, I kind of have one planned-ish. I want to talk specifically at some point about why I'm in an Episcopal church, what I find beautiful there, and why other people might enjoy not only the Episcopal church, but other mainline churches, and also just my own experience. I'll say up front, like, look, I know that there's some wackadoodle stuff that goes on in mainline churches, but I've never seen it. Like, I've seen it on the internet. I've never seen it in real life. I've visited a bunch of different Episcopal churches in different states and different parts of the country, and I've found the preaching of the gospel, the administration of the sacraments, and just a care for a beautiful liturgy, a care for the local community. I don't know. Maybe I've just gotten super lucky. Entirely possible. But I also tend to think that we think that, on the one hand, a mainline church is going to be like wildly liberal. And we think that if we go to a Catholic or Orthodox church, that it's all going to be like super traditional. And the facts just like don't bear that out. I'm going to be doing a video soon on like the statistics around what Pew Research has found about what the average Catholic, Orthodox, mainline person believes. And like the spoiler alert is, if I gave you the stats on the average Catholics, both like social, political, and theological views, and the average Episcopalians' social, political, and theological views, they're only like a couple percentage points off on a lot of these major questions of hot button issues, of things like how often they're engaging scripture, and then cultural things as well. The fact is, like, people are actually more similar in real life than you might expect. And the internet kind of gives us the extremes, whereas real life just shows people are people. Anywho. Okay. So short answer to that question. Yes. All right. Also, shout out to anyone who starts their question with a Q. Todd. Todd Voss always leaves such thoughtful comments. Todd, thank you so much for that. I appreciate your support. And yes, very lucky that Eliza still works full-time for the federal government as well. She's a bit fancier than I am in what she does. And so her position was super good. And so, yeah, we'll be okay as far as health insurance goes. But I really appreciate you commenting on that, Todd, because that is important. And I won't get into politics. Okay, but yes, health insurance matters. Okay. I always get myself in trouble when I do these live streams. I need to think before I talk. Okay. Interesting. Okay, Brian Leber says, have you done any looking into Messianic Judaism? I think that's the key to ecumenical reconciliation. So the interesting part, I thought, was the latter, that's the key to ecumenical reconciliation. Why? So the short answer is not really. Like, I've probably read a total of one book on Messianic Judaism. I had some professors who had been part of that. I took a wonderful class on the Holocaust from a Messianic Jewish professor whose parents were survivors of the Holocaust, which was just one of the most moving classes I've taken to kind of get his perspective on it. But the short answer is I haven't done a ton of looking into it. I'm skeptical that it's the key to ecumenical reconciliation. I think Messianic Judaism could offer another perspective, but I'd be curious what you mean by it's the key to it, just because I don't think it's a largely viable option for the masses of Catholics, Orthodox, Protestants, for that matter, to become Messianic Jews. So maybe they could shed light on some disputed issues, and I think that's probably true. And recent interest in Second Temple Judaism has often helped traditions understand one another more and understand scripture better. But anyway, I'm curious by that. I guess I'm not sold, just prima facie. Okay. David Shinsato just bought that version. I don't know which version it was, but if it was any of the books that I held up, that's cool. Okay. Let's see. Glad you liked the book recommendations, chess player. Meg Metzer. I should read these before pulling them on screen. Question. Who do you think is the new Eve, if there is one? If not, why not? Okay, yeah, so I think there is a typological connection between Mary and Eve in the scriptures. I think the function of typology is such that, well, it can be a bit flexible. But yeah, I think that I have no problem with people reading Mary as a new Eve figure. The question is just kind of like what dogmatic or doctrinal conclusions we make based on that. Okay. Frank C. said, James White said, there's no evidence redeemed Zoomer exists. I hear some people doubt it. I shouldn't be mean to James White. But that is funny. That's a very like inside joke. Okay. What music have I been listening to lately? I need good music recommendations. I find I don't listen to music as much as I used to. This is going to sound super boring. I'll listen to like classical music when I'm working at times, just for things to focus. I find music gets really stuck in my head, and probably because I'm not talking to like real humans for most of the day. And so I don't like having the lyrics stuck in my head all day, but I'm pretty open to different genres of music. I have a feeling come October 3rd, there will be a lot of Taylor Swift playing in my house, as my wife loves Taylor Swift, and last week was entirely caught up with the fact that she's releasing a new album. We watched the whole New Heights podcast. I learned a lot. But yeah. Caleb, what should I be listening to? Give me a good recommendation. Oh, we are going to a concert soon, though. We're going to see Noah Kahan. Any Noah Kahan fans out there? Going to a music festival. He's going to be there. Should be fun. Random fun fact about Noah Kahan. I once saw him at a pro-am at the Memorial Tournament, which is a golf tournament. He played the day before. They have like celebrities come out and play and talk to him. So there's a fun little connection. Any Noah Kahan fans out there? Okay. Any questions? Gabriel, I can't see the profile picture. I'm going to go with Gabriel. Is your participation in TEC or TEC, which is the Episcopal Church, part of RZ's Reconquista? So not formally. I'm not like a member of I don't know what it would even count to be a member. I'm not in the Discord. I did meet with the person who runs the Episcopal Reconquista Discord server, and I didn't join it primarily because like I'm not on Discord and I'm trying to be on my phone less, and I feel like I would have gotten swept into all types of fun conversations. Like I think they're doing good work. I think Richard's doing a lot of really interesting stuff. I'm all for kind of seeing mainline Protestantism be restored to more kind of Orthodox teaching, more vibrant life. But yeah, I guess I'm not like formally, I keep wanting to say formally a part of it, but like cheering it on, as far as I understand it. I'll just leave it at that. I will say though, he did have an influence on me thinking like, this could be a viable option. So in that way, it's part of it, because those videos made me think like this Episcopal church I've been driving past that looked really beautiful, which is how we ended up going there. My wife and I kept driving past and we're like, we should go sometime. And, seeing those videos, I think was another motivation to get across that threshold of like, yeah, let's just see what's going on. And we went and we loved it. Why am I so zesty? I don't know how to answer that question. Cleaved Antiquity. Howdy. Is it Ben? I'm running into the issue with you that people have with me. I had a patron sign up the other day and say, I don't even know your name, Austin. Well, they didn't say Austin because my name's Austin. They didn't know my name. Is it? Please correct me if I'm wrong. I want to say it's Ben. Anyway, Cleaved Antiquity. Howdy. Transfigured asked, are you willing to talk about the Trinity with non-Trinitarian Christians? In principle, yes. So I'm open to talking, like, you want to get a coffee? I love talking to all types of people I disagree with. Would I have it on my channel? I mean, I've had Stephen Nemesh on the channel. We didn't talk about the Trinity specifically. I don't know if I would have a dialogue about that on my channel today. My channel's less like caught up with those types of questions. But it's not, I mean, I'm not like morally opposed to it, I don't think. I'd be happy to go on someone's channel and talk about it. I'd have to think more about it if I'd host that particular conversation on my channel. But as far as in real life, yeah, I'm so down to have that conversation. can I get a Trinitarian Pentecostal scholar on? I've had a Pentecostal on. I imagine he's Trinitarian. He is Trinitarian. I don't know. Like, does he have maybe I'm missing something about Pentecostal Trinitarian scholars. I know there's oneness Pentecostals, but would they have something, like would a Trinitarian Pentecostal have something significant? I don't know. Anyway, I missed super chats. Let me get to those. Len Davis. Len, hi. Len is a patron, so kind of you to give a super chat. And I hear he has a YouTube channel. Len, leave it in the comments. I don't remember the name of it. Well, it's probably just this. This is just Len Davis. Well, I'm going to be doing an interview with Len. So, hey. Okay. The Sanctuary. Sorry, I got a teleprompter thing, which is acting as a screen right now, but it's really small, so I'm like squinting to see this. I'm blind. Okay. You have a great channel. Thank you. What is your advice to brand new Christian creators? What is a healthy goal for their first year? And how long did... Oh, I love this question. And how long did it take me to get to 1,000 subscribers? Okay, let's talk about this. I have a lot of fun with this question. So my channel, it took me a year to get to 100 subscribers. And it took me a year and a half to get to 500. And I think like a couple more months after that to get to 1,000. So I think it was almost 2 years to 1,000 subscribers. And people might know that 1,000 subscribers and I forget how many watch hours is when you can monetize your channel. So that it's not just a significant number for like ego reasons, but that does make a difference for people. So for me, it took a long time. I was making 4 videos a week at that point. I was doing all types of stuff. And so my biggest advice for someone in their first year, as far as setting goals, would be the goal to like just keep doing it. Number one, like set yourself a goal of making whatever it is, a video a week, a video a month, whatever the cadence is. The goal should be executing on that. And the goal should be getting better. So like force yourself to listen to your own content, read the comments, kind of ask people how you can improve. That is what the goal for the first year should be. It shouldn't be a number of subscribers. Those are all kind of lagging indicators. If you get good at this and you stay consistent, that's what's going to make your channel grow. It's not going to be trying to grow the channel that makes it grow, if that makes sense. There's things you can do, tactical things, getting better at thumbnails, titles, all of that kind of stuff. Yes, but focus on just grinding it out. Just keep doing it. Most people are going to quit before they get to that point. And I would say also a lot of people are just going to do it willy-nilly, but like focus on getting better at it if you really care about it. As far as, I guess, just other advice at a less kind of level of that, as your channel grows, I think the more kind of online influence you have, the more chance of like you screwing up, hurting a lot of people. And I think we need to take that seriously. And I know a lot of people want to say like, I'm not an influencer, but like you have influence. And so I think we have to take that seriously. So the more your kind of internet platform grows, I think the more offline just discipleship, the more offline spiritual growth really matters. It always matters, right? But I think we can think that because I'm a big YouTuber, like I must be growing in my faith. Often those happen in different directions if you're not careful. I think it's also really important if you have a platform to try to then like have an outlet of your faith that is completely unseen. Do something like entirely just not flashy, not exciting in your church. Go mop the floors. Go serve with the kids who don't care that you have a theology degree or you have a big channel, who like just want you to throw a ball with them or something before or after church or during, however it sets up for you. Go serve the poor. Like I find being grounded in the local church is so important. The bigger your channel gets, it's always important. But it can be tempting. Like this is church for me. It's not. Be really keen on, hey, if I'm going to be talking about the faith a lot, I better be living it. Get serious about your daily disciplines, and have people that can tell you in your life, like, bro, this ain't it. Like, have people who can call you out, because it's really easy as your channel grows to think like, oh, I must be special. Like you're not. I often tell people, like, as your channel grows, you're going to have people who think you are like a saint, like you are like a living saint. And I mean that as like capital S saint. And there's going to be people who think you're the devil incarnate. if you live by the people who think you're great, you are going to die by the people who think you're awful. Don't let either the high highs or the low lows influence you too much. Have people in real life who can tell you and how you're doing. And yeah, anyway, long rant. Great question. Really love it. Could talk about it all day. But let's get to some other things. Okay, another super chat. On a scale from superb to absolutely incredible, I guess how would you rate us Lutherans? Congratulations on your channel growth, by the way. I can't talk today. I think Lutherans are super cool. So I'm going to be doing a video on just like what I appreciate most in each denomination. And what I love about Lutherans is the emphasis on the pure just gift of God's grace. I think Lutherans often articulate the gospel in a way that is just so beautiful and pure and emphasizes so much God's goodness towards us. I think Lutherans also have been really good. Like there's that side of Lutheranism. There's also like the kind of scholastic Lutheranism, people like, Gerhard and others who have done a lot of the kind of legwork in the Protestant Catholic apologetics world, which is great. But probably just showing my own cards. What I really appreciate about Lutherans is just the goodness of the gospel that they make so clear oftentimes. So I don't know, from what was it, superb to absolutely incredible. Let's say, yeah, Lutherans. I don't know like the inner workings of Lutheranism enough, but let's go absolutely incredible. They're brothers and sisters in Christ who are doing great work, preaching the gospel. So yeah, okay. Going back from the super chats to the regular things. Let's see. What are your views on covenant versus dispensation theology? I'm not a dispensationalist. I went to a dispensationalist school. Yeah, I'm just not convinced. I would have a more covenantal framework for that. Okay. I love this question. Have you read much Kierkegaard? If so, what books? Over the last few years, he's become one of my favorite thinkers, but I find Christians often neglect him or find him maybe dangerous. Okay. I have probably just like a bad disposition. If someone tells me someone's a dangerous thinker, I want to read them. I really enjoy like reading Nietzsche and Camus and all those fun guys. I spent the summer reading Arthur Schopenhauer. Just finished a paper, a final essay for him on why the genius hates mathematics, according to Schopenhauer, which made me feel vindicated because I'm not very good at math. That's not really the point of it. But okay, so yes, I've read Kierkegaard. I just finished Fear and Trembling. I've also read Philosophical Fragments, and I've read what's the book on despair? I can't remember the title of it right now. Any case, yeah, I think Kierkegaard is fascinating. My final master's essay will probably be on Camus and Kierkegaard on the idea of absurd faith. I've written about that from the lens of Camus on absurdism and why he rejects Camus' acceptance of the absurd. And I want to kind of talk about what it is that Kierkegaard's doing, because I don't think Camus quite understands Kierkegaard. I don't think he's actually flattening the absurd to get into that, but yeah. Anyway, yeah. Kierkegaard, love him. I mean, he's wild. I wouldn't make him he's wild in a good way. I love his idea that like we can appreciate Abraham but not understand him. Like, do any of us have faith? Yeah, his meditation on Abraham and Fear and Trembling is quite good. Okay. Let's see. Wait, did you answer my question what your name is? Was it Ben? Yes, it's Ben. Okay, cool. When are we going to collab? I don't know. Let's do it sometime. What do you want to collab on? We can make it happen. Let's see. Questions. On a practical level, what would you recommend to do to someone who is falling into a specific vice? To do to them, or should that person do? I guess I can try to answer it from both directions. To do to someone who's falling into a specific vice, encourage them with the goodness of the gospel, direct them back to the love of God, and that the ways of God are not just abstractly good, but good for them and are better than their vice, that it's actually what leads to flourishing. It's actually what their soul desires are the ways of God. If I was going to talk to someone, so I guess, yeah, if you're like walk with someone, have patience with them, but point them back to Christ and to the fact that like sin just leads to death and that it's not what they want. And that you want their good, all of those things. As far as if someone's in that position, I find vices often feel good in the moment. I find it helpful for my own life to see that a vice is hurting me. It's hurting the people I love. It is leading me down paths I don't want to go down, and that the things I'm doing repeatedly are going to shape who I am, and that's not who I want to be. And I'm reminded that, hey, even in this place, like God has grace for me. I don't think it's helpful to just like continually beat yourself up over it, but look for the good, look away from your sinfulness to the righteousness of God, and yeah, trust in Him. But also recognize, like, I don't know, man, life is hard. The life of the Christian looks like falling down and getting back up. But I find the more I meditate on just the beauty of God and His ways, the more I want that. And so I think so much of spiritual development is about learning to desire the right things, which starts sometimes by doing the right things and learning to desire them, and other times starts from the other direction of seeing the desirable and then conforming your actions to that. I'd have to get more into like a specific vice, I suppose, to give more advice, but that's kind of just some high level thoughts on that. Okay. What's my favorite work by C.S. Lewis? That's a good question. I read C.S. Lewis almost every morning. So I read from, I have a little like C.S. Lewis reader that I do a reading each morning. But as far as his full books, I've read a lot of them. I remember, I don't know. I mean, they've all hit me in different ways. I think the longer I work in the kind of ecclesial apologetic scene, the more I appreciate his vision for mere Christianity. It's the book I've returned to most recently of his, but I also really appreciate his fiction as its ability to kind of shape the imagination. I haven't read his sci-fi series yet, which I need to do, but Narnia I've read multiple times. And his retelling of the myth of Cupid and Psyche, which Till We Have Faces, which I think is one of his like probably most mature fictional works. But I've really appreciated a wide variety of his stuff. But it's such a cop-out to pick Mere Christianity, but it's the one that I think I come back to the most. Okay. Nick, good question. You've been a bit clearer on your objections towards EO and Catholicism, but what are your major objections with OO, Coptic? That's a good question because, like, at a heart level, I love the Coptic Orthodox Church. I think the liturgy is beautiful. I think the spirituality is so utterly compelling. I've just loved all the Coptic Christians I've met. And yeah, I've read works by Pope Shenouda, Pope Shenouda the second or third or whatever, the most recent Pope Shenouda. And yeah, I just appreciate a lot about it. I think I don't have so much like major hangups with Oriental Orthodoxy as a humility of like, I haven't read that much. As far as like, I've gotten into like the canons of councils for the Eastern Orthodox Church. I've read a book on the history of the Oriental Orthodox Church. I have a couple that I've read, but like historically specifically, I think their arguments for even Chalcedon are like from just a historical perspective, very serious and very interesting. In fact, studying Chalcedon has made me think differently about tradition in general. Maybe I could elaborate on that more, but I also recognize like, I just have a big historical gap in my knowledge for the Oriental Orthodox Church from say Chalcedon through today. And so as someone who's very cautious when wading into these things, like I just don't actually know what I'd be signing up for if I were to become Oriental Orthodox. It also just feels like a little bit more of a niche take. I feel like Oriental Orthodoxy, for me, for it to make sense, can't see itself as the one true church. Like I just couldn't get my head around that. I don't think it makes sense to me for a variety of reasons. So it would be like a preference thing. And at the level of preference, it's one of my favorite liturgies. I think the Episcopal liturgy is also really beautiful and it just makes a little more sense to me culturally. It's a better fit for my wife. It would just feel like little bit of like a rogue change to become Oriental Orthodox. I feel like I'd have a hard time feeling like I'm not just like, I don't know, to use the internet slang, LARPing. But I think it's absolutely beautiful. Like, man, if I had like a spiritual director that was Oriental Orthodox, Coptic specifically, I would be all for that. So yeah, much love for them. But I guess gap in my knowledge, it would seem like a preference versus like a one true church thing. And because it's at the level of preference, I just don't think it really makes sense for me and my family. Have you heard about Paul's new perspective? I have. Do you agree or disagree? I'd say I kind of withhold judgment on that for the moment. It's hard to kind of break up like the various different issues. There's kind of like historical questions about Second Temple Judaism that are involved in this. As far as like E.P. Sanders, was this a more religion of grace than we might have been led to think? I think there's broad truth to that. One of the big questions of what does Paul mean by works of the law? That's both an exegetical question in terms of like verse by verse. In some cases, I do think that these could correspond more to like ethnic boundary markers, as N.T. Wright and others point out. But as far as like the general scope of Paul's theology of works in general, I do think he has a sense of like the gratuity of grace and the... it's hard for me because like I just find the Lutheran read of this, or the old perspective, like theologically very, very stirring as we reflect on like the nature of works and the nature of faith. But at an exegetical and historical level, I do think there's need for nuance. And I think the new perspective has provided that. I also think Paul within Judaism school has provided some valuable perspectives as well for us to understand how Paul conceived of Judaism. And I think at times in the old perspective, there was a little bit too much of a black and white contrast. So yeah, there's a mix of kind of like historical questions here, exegetical questions, and then like systematic theological questions. At the systematic level, I probably have the most affinity for the old perspective, whereas on the other questions, I do find the new perspective helpful. So moving towards something like a synthesis, I think could be helpful, but it's not something that I've worked out personally. Okay. Shout out to Quintessentially Me. I have found my experience in the Episcopal Church to be more orthodox and traditional than my experience in non-denominational evangelical or Baptist churches. It really added depth to my life. It's been beautiful for my wife and I. We've absolutely loved it. It's, yeah, been nothing but a gift. Okay. I think there were super chats I might have missed. Okay, yes, super chat. I think I can make these bigger, so I'm not. Sweet. Sorry, I'm blind. Will living full-time off this income hinder your decision to make, maybe my ability to make a decision on what church you'll end up at? Wouldn't remaining on the fence be more profitable and provide more content? Love you, bro. So the simple answer for that is no, it would absolutely not be more profitable. I can promise you that if I became Catholic today, I would make more money. As far as like fence sitting, it is the least profitable place to be because think about it from this perspective. I actually talked about this when I was on Trent Horn's show. People give to things that they feel that they can fully support, that has a mission that is compelling to them. If my whole brand was just about like sitting on the fence, which for the record, I don't think it is. I feel pretty settled where I'm at in any case, but that's a hard thing to give to. And I've had people say like, hey, I enjoy your channel, but I'm Orthodox, so I'm only going to give to Orthodox things. Or I'm Catholic and I enjoy your channel, but I'm only going to give to Catholic things. I'm Protestant, but like, I'd rather support someone like Gavin Ortland, who's a bit clearer on this. Trust me, the best way to make money on the internet and to grow a following is to take a very narrow approach to things, find out what your audience wants to hear, and only tell them that thing. That's how you build a following. That's how you make money. No, I'm going to stop that. Okay. But yeah, that's how you make money. So no, it really doesn't impact this decision, my ability to make a decision at all. Yeah. But and at the same time, I know like people often talk about me as kind of like a guy who's always sitting on the fence. I don't know. I feel pretty comfortable where I'm at today. Like I attend the Episcopal Church where I should have worn it. You know, my wife and I have our name tags that we wear there. Like we're bought into the life of the church there. Yeah, I still find such great beauty in Catholicism. That doesn't mean like I don't still think of it as I've like closed off that option forever. But there is a part of me that thinks like, if I would have been convinced, would I have been convinced by now? I don't know. I mean, I'll keep learning. And if things change, things change. I do want to follow truth where it leads, but it's not like I haven't been doing that along the way. Same with Orthodoxy. So yeah, anyway, appreciate the question though. Great question. Isaiah Burridge Music. Okay. Back to this. If I had grown up Catholic, I think I would be Catholic? I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, statistically, I don't mean this to bash Catholics, but I would have had there'd be less likelihood if I grew up Catholic that I'd still be a practicing Catholic than there is if you grew up evangelical, that you kind of stay in the faith. I don't say that as like a gotcha, as a thing. Like that's just the data. And so I don't know. I mean, there's every chance that I would have been nominal. I mean, there's just way too many ways to look at it. But I will say, like, if I had grown up Catholic and I was where I was today, would I feel the need to convert to Protestantism? I don't know. I find Protestantism compelling on a number of reasons, but if I was within Catholicism, I think some of the things that I see as barriers to becoming Catholic would be different because like this is what I grew up with. And so I do think like the barrier to join something is higher than the barrier to stay in something. If that weren't the case, we'd all be like endlessly switching things all the time. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, interesting to think about. Go-to coffee drink, black coffee on the weekends, and then I'll make lattes on the weekend. So we have a Flair, like manual espresso maker, like a lever espresso machine. But yeah, I do well, right now I've got a Khalifa. I used to do V60, but pour overs during the week, light roast. That's my go-to drink every morning after I do my devotions in the morning. And then, yeah, on the weekends I'll make a latte, usually just brown sugar and oat milk. Yeah. Oh, Taylor, why are you going to expose me like this? My golf handicap is currently at 23. For those that don't know, that's not good. I've been playing for about a year. I've gotten back into it for about a year. We were at the range today, which was fun. But my first ever job was at a golf course, which was initially how I got into golf. I was the guy who washed the carts when you came in, and I cleaned people's clubs for tips. And so I used to play a decent amount in high school because I could play for free. And then once I couldn't play for free, I stopped playing. But last year my wife got into it, and it's something we can do together. So yeah, handicap 23, not great. Working on it though, Taylor, working on it. Okay, I appreciate the music recommendation, Caleb. I'll check them out. Let's see. Sorry, I'm like way behind on questions, so I'm going to try to go through these. What is my preferred Bible translation? This isn't like a super deep take. ESV, I might get some hate for this. Here's why ESV is my preferred Bible translation. It's what I used in college. When I was in college, I spent a lot of time memorizing scripture. And after college, memorizing scripture became a kind of discipline in my life. Took it up to memorize the entirety of the Sermon on the Mount, which was an absolutely wonderful thing to do. It took me about a year, but just do it. You'll be so glad you did it. And I'm constantly coming back to the Sermon on the Mount. But I memorized it in the ESV, so like I feel like I'm kind of like stuck with it in a way. I think it's a good translation. But I'm not someone who's like super into like, this is the best one. I don't know. There's a lot of good ones. We're blessed to have so many in English. But yeah. But I do think, just side note, as much as like I'm someone who uses Logos all the time, I love Logos Bible software. But I do think it's like really handy to have just a physical Bible on your desk if you're doing this type of stuff. Get used to finding things in Scripture. Okay. All right. I've got about 15 more minutes. I can smell dinner downstairs. We're having tacos. I can't miss it. Okay. Risto said, I am good at math. Math is just taught wrong. Well, I appreciate your belief in me. We'll see. Sickness unto death. Thank you, James. That's the one on despair. Yes, you were right. Do I play golf? Yes, I love golf. Conversation just had. Please interact more with LDS. So I'd be open to that, but the only thing is I don't like necessarily doing videos on things I don't know much about. So I'd love talking with LDS people in real life. Like, something you'll know about me is I just like talking with people, one, and I like talking about theology, two, and I like talking about theology with people with whom I disagree. LDS, but all of those categories. But I'd be wary to have those conversations on my channel because I don't want to like misrepresent kind of just more mainstream Orthodox Christian theology by like not knowing how to respond to them, and I don't want to disrespect them by just not asking good questions because I don't know that much. So I just don't see it as something that I'm ready to step into since I just haven't done the background reading on that. There's people that can do more on that. Oh, Brian said when I lean too far forward, the audio gets muffled. Sorry. Okay. Let's see. Which book in the Bible would you recommend reading for someone who struggles with reading? As far as Redeemed Zoomer just did easiest books of the Bible to read, which, by the way, Richard, you had like Ruth as more difficult, I think, than Genesis. That was a wild take. I think it was more difficult than Exodus too. Exodus, like the second half is all about the tabernacle. The tabernacle. I mean, I feel like people are lying if they tell you that part's interesting. Anyway, sorry, wild take. But yeah, I think in the Old Testament, I think Ruth would be a great place to read. The early parts of Genesis. I mean, all of Genesis is actually pretty easy to read. And then like the first half of Exodus. But I think just read what's interesting to you. So a lot of people struggle to read, but they might enjoy reading certain things more than others. Start with what you enjoy. All of it's God-breathed and useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. So yeah, I mean, I think an easy Bible study in the New Testament would be like, Philippians, James, Galatians wouldn't be too bad. Ephesians, kind of Paul's shorter letters, or yeah, I think the Gospel of John, it's actually like very simply written. In fact, if you're ever learning like Greek or Latin, that's the easiest one to read first. So yeah, anyway, okay. Haha, okay. This isn't a haha funny, but it lets me plug something. Is there a proper, surefire way to get past ecclesial anxiety? I've been in stasis for about half a year. I want to move forward, but I don't know how. Sorry for the plug here. So first of all, let me be more pastoral here. I'm so sorry that you've been in this position. I know how difficult that is. I know how frustrating it can be to feel like you're spinning your wheels on these questions and not getting anywhere. So I want you to know that you're not alone. A lot of people watch this channel because they're in just the same position as you. So you're not crazy. It's not because you're not smart enough. It's because these things are complicated and you're probably trying to do this really faithfully and really well. And so hear me when I say like, it's totally normal to have anxiety over these questions. I think there's a couple ways. So anxiety is based upon, traditionally anxiety is kind of understood as like fear over a perceived sense of risk. Epistemic anxiety is the feeling of being anxious over the perception that you could be wrong and that being wrong carries with it risk. Ecclesial anxiety would be a type of that. So one way is to look at the question of risk. I think oftentimes we put more weight on ecclesial questions than is proper, which makes the sense of risk go up. So if we think that if I don't choose the right church, I'm going to hell, that's going to make the stakes of this question very high, which is going to correspond with us thinking that, hey, this is something I should be anxious about, because your body is going to physically react to the sense of a perceived risk. And our brains don't do a really good job of distinguishing between like a tiger lurking in the trees and us getting a question wrong. They're all forms of risk, and they all carry with them a perceived sense of danger. So one way is to say, hey, like, are the stakes as high as I think they are here? I think just looking at the modern teaching, not necessarily the YouTube teaching, but if you look at Vatican II, if you look at a lot of more modern Orthodox theologians, you're not going to find them saying, if you're not in our church, you're damned. That's just not kind of the modern conception. So already you might be able to say, wait, okay, maybe this isn't like a heaven-hell question. Maybe this is a question of being in a better or worse church, at one with more fullness of truth or not. Still really important, but maybe we can lower the stakes a little bit. I think also we can just be realistic with ourselves of saying, hey, is my sense of fear based on like I have to definitively solve these questions? We might be able to step back and say like that's not realistic. We're talking about 2 millennia worth of source material just for the post-New Testament. We're talking about many different disciplines. We're talking about material written on different continents and different types of things. Like, you're not going to master all of this. At the end of the day, you're going to make a probabilistic judgment about this seems like the best thing. You're going to hopefully do that being, led by the Spirit, doing it prayerfully, doing it in community with others. You're going to do it to the best of your ability. But at the end of the day, like, you're not going to solve all these questions definitively. There will always be someone smarter than you who can come up with an argument you haven't heard. And at some point, we just have to learn to live within that, to recognize that we are finite people and that that's okay. And I think the thing that helps me most in this is focusing not on what I don't know, but what I do know. What I do know about the goodness of God, for his love for us, his care for us, and what he desires, what is his nature. And I think when I focus on that, I see a good and loving Father who wants what is best for us, who isn't looking to grade our theology exams and kind of give us like a pass, fail, heaven, hell type of situation here, but who is saying, like, if you knock, the door will be answered for you. If you seek, you will find. Who invites us to come to him when we are weary and heavy laden, and to find rest in him. So those are some of the pieces of advice I have. I have a lot of like tactical advice of how to go about this. And now I'll get to where I was going. I'm putting the final edits on a book on ecclesial anxiety. I'm biased. I think it's going to be helpful for people. It's going to go through things you can do right away, no matter your theology, how you can build a foundation of looking into these questions, how you can kind of really focus your thinking and make tangible progress and not just spend hours and hours watching YouTube videos and not learn anything, but how you can actually move forward, how you can identify which questions really matter. I'm going to talk about how doctrine affects this. I'm going to kind of talk about the nature of the gospel, the nature of the church, salvation outside the church, and then I'm going to give advice for how to move forward. So I've been working on that every day. I'm happy with where it's getting to. I'm really excited to bring it to people soon. So I hope that when that comes out, that might be helpful for you. Okay. Super chat. Saw one come in. John Calvin himself? John Calvin. To make you proud, Jean. Sitting on next to my desk. In fact, it was on top of the Catechism of the Catholic Church, which has to count for something. Okay. Anyway, thanks for the super chat. This was for my section on the nature of the church when I was doing research on that. So, anywho, are you in a mainline church? Yes, I'm in an Episcopal church. Am I part of Reconquista? I talked about this a little earlier. Not like formally part of it. I don't know to what extent there is like a formal membership process. I'm not in the Discord server. But like I said, I think it's great that they're trying to kind of point people towards the mainline church, make them more orthodox, and yeah. Okay. Thanks for the super chat. I'm going to become an Episcopalian next year. Super cool, Zach. Love that. I hope you have a great time with it. I'd love to hear how your experience goes. Would you make a video engaging with the tech document to set our hope on Christ? Is that the one on like LGBTQ stuff? If it is, I've read it, I think. I don't recognize the title off the top of my head, so I can't commit to doing a video on it or not doing a video on it. I can tell you that I'll look it up after this and try to see. Thank you for the super chat, Gabriel. I think that was your second one. Okay. I've got about 5 minutes. So if you definitely want your question answered, you can leave a super chat. But I'll see what I can get to. Can I do a backflip? No. Yo, what denomination do you go to right now? Episcopal. Do you play any instruments, sing as a hobby? I do not sing. Can you see the guitar back there? Yes, I play guitar. I have a bass right there. I have an acoustic guitar right there. I've got my Strat right there. I've been playing guitar since I was like in 3rd grade. And I posted a picture the other day, or I included a picture the other day, and Does Liturgy Matter, in which I was playing a PRS on stage at a non-denominational church with sunglasses on. It was weird. It was a whole thing. Backstory for another day. Anyway, but yeah, I play guitar. Is the Bible the book for you? Amen. Indeed it is. Oh, super chat. Okay. I can hear my wife putting out plates. I gotta go soon, people. It's Taco Tuesday. You can't miss Taco Tuesday. All right. Sip of water. Jean Calvin again. Best argument for and against prayers to saints. I condemn it entirely, but I know you said that you have done it. Do it. Okay. Yeah. I think the best argument for it would be an argument that goes something along the following lines, at least like a kind of a logical argument for it, would be that the saints in heaven are kind of more alive than anyone else. And I think it is a good safeguard on our kind of, the prayers to saints can be a good safeguard on keeping kind of like a truly spiritual worldview here. I think the idea that we know the saints are praying for us based on Revelation, them kind of praying around the throne there. And so the question just becomes, can we ask them to pray for us? And it doesn't seem like a big leap to me to say that you could request the prayers of a saint who has departed, because the communion of saints is real, whether living or dead. Okay, so that would be kind of the basic thing. And then I think you can find some like historic support for that as well. Best argument against it would be that we have Jesus Christ as our only mediator in heaven. I think there's kind of like just a, like almost Pascal's wager. Like it could be wrong to do this. You have Christ praying for you. So on the off chance it's wrong, why do it when you already have the greatest mediator there is? I think that's a pretty decent argument. I think also you could say that Scripture teaches us how to pray, and it doesn't tell us to pray to saints. And so if it hasn't been revealed to us, we don't have the liberty to go about that. I'll say that it's not like a big part of my devotional life. It's something I experimented with more when I was kind of using the Orthodox prayer book, when I was really interested in that. But occasionally, like on the Saints' Day, might say like, hey, if you can pray for me, that would be great. But if not, it's not like a big part of my life. Anyway, that's how I think about that. My thoughts on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I talked about this a little bit earlier. I just don't know enough to have like an informed opinion. And I really try not to talk about things I don't know about. I do find kind of like the historical claims rather tenuous. But like, I don't know enough to, I don't want to, kind of sound off here on the internet and kind of give a rather uninformed take. So I'll just withhold. What church fathers would I recommend reading as most relevant to developing a robust creation care theology, a la Laudato Si? Okay, so here's one thing that'll make people mad. I actually think like caring for creation is really important. I think we should do it. I don't think that makes me this like terrible globalist liberal with an agenda to undermine our good Christian values. Like I think caring for creation is good. I think we should do it. And yeah, like I don't mind that part of Pope Francis' teaching. I actually like a lot of Pope Francis' teaching. I'm probably a terrible liberal. Okay. I don't know though, as far as which church father. I mean, I think like reading someone like Maximus and the idea that redemption is cosmic and that we get to participate in that redemption. I mean, reading Maximus has been one of the most enjoyable experiences for me in thinking about the scope of salvation, the scope of God's work in the world. And so I think that would help you then to make the move to like thinking about our role as not just one of, getting souls to heaven, as important as that is, but as God being in the business of doing something even bigger than that, or even more expansive. And so we too can participate in that. So maybe Maximus, I don't know. That's a good question. I haven't read the Church Fathers with that particular lens in mind. Read the Life of Saint Anthony by Saint Athanasius. I've read it. People should do that. Did it make you think about creation care? I'm trying to remember. I don't know. But yeah, it's well worth reading. Okay, guys. It's 6:15. I need to go downstairs. Sorry that I missed. Is it a sin to put olives on tacos? It might be. I don't like olives at all. Don't put it on pizza. Don't put it on tacos. Don't put it on anything. Oh, I want to do this all night. I need to do this again sometime. Would you guys like more common things like this? Would you have a conversation with an LDS? I talked about this earlier. Maybe, again, I just don't know enough about it. Okay, is there any like really good things? Okay, okay, I want to talk about all of these. I'm going to do another live stream. We'll do another one soon. Maybe we can make this a regular thing. Okay, I need to eat those tacos. Thanks everyone for watching. You guys are the best. Thanks for getting this channel to 90,000. When we hit 100,000, as I said, we'll do a library tour. We'll do some other fun things. And yeah, thanks so much and God bless.